Hello lovelies, welcome to Narc Free Formula. My name's Freedom, thank you for joining me. Today's episode is about narcissists, predators and the dark art of grooming. Just before I start, I also just need to quickly apologise. We've had, because of temperature changes, so it's been a really hot day and now it's starting to cool off a little bit. The cicadas are going off in the background on and off sporadically, so if you hear a high pitch kind of chirping noise or consistent chirping noise or ringing noise, that is what that sound is. That's a cat. All right, thank you. No, that's a cat. But the other sound you might hear is cicadas. So yeah, please don't freak out. All right, just some people get weirded out by sounds like that and think that, strange things like people are doing, I don't know, mind control and yeah, nah, I'm not. It's all good. I've got better things to do with my life than try and mind control anyone. All right, lovelies, let's get down to this. So, what I'm talking about here is how the vast majority of the narcissists seem to work their magic. This is predominantly, I suppose, within the somatics and kind of the the less confident, so like the victim narcissist, your coverts. So there's a certain type of narcissist that will utilize these themes and tactics. But anyhow, look, let's just go through it. So the first thing, I suppose, is you've got to understand that the grooming process can take time, but time is not, like, to us, time it's a concept that, we all know that, for example, 6 months takes 6 months, a year takes a year. We have a general understanding of how time works. Whereas for the narcissist, because they run kind of parallel and multiple realities, this kind of concept of time, it doesn't really mean a thing. And what I mean by that is, so just for example, they are looking for new primary supply, so new supply. And they are, there's a few different people they're kind of auditioning and grooming to see whether or not they will be able to replace the supply that they currently have. And replacing grade A supply is not an easy task. You have to understand that. But the narcissist doesn't think twice about spending a year grooming and positioning 1 or 5 individuals, because at the end of the day, they've got supply, they've got fuel, they are working towards something that in itself fuels them. They're kind of getting high on their own supply, they're getting high on the idea that their plans are coming together, things are working, that people are buying and believing in the false construct, in the mask, in this person that they're kind of projecting out into the world. So they're getting fuel from all of that. And I want to personalize this a little bit because to put this in context. So my particular situation with my NEX, Narc X, for those who don't know what NEX is this. We spent years, over a decade together. Now, it wasn't until the final year when I was starting to clue onto him that he was starting to look to replace me. All throughout our situationship, obviously, that there'd been all kinds of things going on behind my back that I'd been absolutely clueless to. But because I was grade A supply, he hadn't been able to replace me. And so during this last year, what he did was something quite spectacular. So he went from having this mask of being the family man, and he worked on the council, for God's sake. So he worked full-time on the council, was, like I said, a family man in theory, and then in a space of a very short, maybe 3 to 6 months, what happened was he started to use drugs, so started using methamphetamine, and within, like I said, 3 to 6 months had lost his job, taken up meth dealing, positioned himself in a situation where he cornered a market of his former drug dealers, his clientele. So he did this kind of hostile takeover of his, in inverted commas, friend's business. And obviously, being a meth dealer, that gave him access to a whole lot of desperate people. A lot of these people are young and impressionable young women with some serious issues. A lot of these girls have serious issues. And this is not, I'm not saying that people who use drugs have serious issues. I'm saying that meth dealers come in contact with a lot of people. And, you know, if you take any cohort of, you know, a section of community, you will find the people that are vulnerable within that community pretty damn fast. And so, yeah, so he has access to all of these young and desperate women. Now, the next step is to build up trust with them. So what the narcissist then does is they spend time befriending them, befriending their boyfriends, befriending and being seen to be, you know, the one that they can rely on, the one that will give them advice, the one that will give them free drugs when they need it, the one that will be there. So they position themselves as almost like this big brother, or, you know, the uncle, or the father you never had. You know, it's highly manipulative. It's quite, you know, it's ugly. It's really ugly. There's no other way of putting it. You know, taking advantage of the weakest people in society, being an absolute predator. Oh, there go the cicadas. So that's the sound I'm referring to when I'm talking about the cicadas. So, look, they use time, they build up trust, and the way they do it is by not being threatening. As I said, you know, these young women are so used to men cracking onto them, trying to hit on them, trying to get something from them, you know, offering them, for example, free drugs for money. So it's quite a shock to the system when someone says, you don't have to give me sex for drugs. It's okay, I'll just give you the drugs because I care about you. Now, the narcissist doesn't care about anyone but themselves, but that's the mask they're putting on. So what happens is, after a while, this young person, or, you know, in my particular instance, there was 5 of them that he was running parallel, multiple realities on, which is very confusing for me, because I kind of thought, oh, he likes this one, and then I thought, oh no, he doesn't like that one, he likes this one. Shush, please. Shush, please. Oh my Lord. Sorry. 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, so what was I saying? Yeah, it was very confusing for me watching him, you know, kind of chasing after one, then chasing after another, flirting with one, flirting with another, you know, doing nice things for this one, doing nice things for that one. I was very, very confused because I didn't understand how narcissists work, you know, and at that point in time, I didn't know that he was a narcissist. And so, anyhow, getting back to it. So this is what they do. They run these, it's almost like, I mean, they're games. Essentially, they're just playing games with people. They are testing people. They're seeing how long it takes to draw that person in, you know, into their world. And the thing is that what happens because of this time together, spent together, and trust gets built up because they perceive him as not being a threat to them. Like I said, he doesn't ask them for sex. He's there for them when they have a fight with their boyfriends. You know, so he's being the friend that they never had. You know, he's doing parenting stuff for them, helping them get lifts, driving them around, you know. This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Grooming They groom individuals just like pedophiles do. Very similar thing. It's all sexual predatory stuff. And it takes time, but time is something that a narcissist has. You know, because as I said, they don't have any commitment to anyone or anything. You know, they're just looking out for themselves, for number one. And so they can work on 5 different fuel supplies in one, 6-month period of time. And each individual woman would feel, they would feel like they're not being pressured. They would feel like they're not being chased. And they would feel safe with this man, this narcissist, which is exactly why they do it. So it's like, for example, another little narc trick that they will do is take someone out on a date and then drop them off at home, give them a kiss on the cheek, and that individual's thinking, oh wow, he didn't even try and kiss me or come in, he just didn't even try and sleep with me. That's it's amazing, he's a real gentleman. Not realizing that that true gentleman is actually a narcissist who then goes back to another fuel supply and has sex all night. I mean, this is the divide between the mask and the reality. So what they show us, what we think they're about, and what they're really about, 2 very separate and individual things. So getting back to my individual case, I find it quite fascinating that, like I said, this whole kind of, it appeared to be like a midlife crisis, but I didn't realize that he was trying to switch out, his primary supply. I didn't realize that at the time. And as I said, as a, from an outsider's perspective, it would have looked like he was having a midlife crisis. Like I said, losing his job on the council, becoming a drug dealer, selling his car, buying some hotted up thing that would appeal to a younger type of individual, acting like a younger individual, hanging around with people 20 years younger than him, where he gets to be the the more worldly, the more knowing, the more intellectual. I mean, the one that he ended up with, she probably thinks that he's absolutely freaking awesome. But obviously time will prove that wrong. But this is just how they groom people. They don't come across as threatening. They come across as supportive. They come across as, oh, I'm here for you whenever you need anything from me. You matter. You matter so much to me. I care about you so much. We're like family, you and I. And they say that to everyone. The thing is, there's lots of different scams and different ways that these predators do take advantage. So I suppose it goes back to the whole thing of trusting your instinct, realizing that people do have an agenda. So if someone's not coming outright and asking you for something, you need to wonder to yourself, what is it that they do want? Why is it that they are hanging around? And also you need to pay attention to the signs. So when there are fleeting moments where the mask slips and the narcissist's true self is revealed, you need to pay attention to those things. Because it does happen, obviously when they're grooming people and they're spending limited time with them. So they're not with these people 24/7. They groom them from a safe distance. So, they might pop around for a couple of hours each week, or maybe it's just only for a few minutes each day. But it's enough to create this reoccurring presence. So the woman feels comfortable with him being in her space. So after a while, he becomes so comfortable and it's just so normal for him to be around. It's like a snake that just sleeps on your floor. And it's there all the time. It's never tried to hurt you. And so you just get used to it. But it doesn't change the fact that it's still a snake. And that's no offense to snakes, because I tell you what, I prefer to be in bed with a snake than be in bed with a narcissist. That's for sure. But, you know, the point that I'm trying to make is they just get us so used to them being around. And this is the kind of position they might be. It might be those, you know, the uncle, or maybe it's a team member, or maybe it's someone that you go to work with, you know, some acquaintance, someone that you have kind of contact with. And like I said, you know, they're kind of building up a relationship, but not putting too much pressure on it. You know, they're doing it, making you feel safe, getting you used to them. And that's exactly what grooming is. So then when it is time to make their move, so for example, when I kicked my ex out and all of a sudden he was without primary supply, what did he do? He made a jump to one of the 5 women that he was grooming, the one who was most easily manipulated, the one who was most desperate, like she had no car, no home, like her boyfriend was in jail, and she was a drug user, you know, who needed drugs daily just to get through the day. And so in comes Mr. drug dealing hero with his flash shiny car, you know, starts giving her free drugs and driving her around. And because they're friends anyhow, because, you know, he's been her boyfriend's best friend for the last 9 months, you know, it just seems really natural for her to drive around with him. And then who knows how it started. Maybe it was like, oh, a little bit too much drugs one day. I don't know how it started with them, but I do know that he spent a lot of time manipulating a lot of young women to get the outcome that he was looking for, as I said, which was a new fuel supply, because the one that he had was waking up to him. So this is grooming, darlings, and all narcissists and predators do it to some degree. But as I said, the ones that are kind of insecure, who won't just come up and chat you up, you know, won't just come up and talk to a total stranger, you know, they're the ones who always go for their friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, cousins, you know, work colleagues. They're always those ones, the ones that just can reach out in a social scene and you'll be right there because, you know, you work together, you hang around together, whatever. Anyhow, I think you get the point of what I'm saying. Anyhow, darlings, listen, as always, you know, if anyone wants a one-on-one, you know where to find me. And yeah, get Narc free, stay Narc free. The link to the Narc free challenge is still up as well. If anyone wants to join me, we'll be kicking it off in December. And I think I'll be doing kind of a group challenge so we can all kind of do it together at the same time. So anyhow, the link's in the description box, darlings. Have a good day and yep, get Narc free and stay Narc free.